¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Alio, how's it going? Michael Hassler, Heat, how's it going, everybody? Welcome. Okay, so we do have a few things to go through. Uh, but obviously, the most important discourse today is, well, the most important discourse that has happened over the last 24, 24, maybe 48 hours max, is obviously the riveting report, the riveting journalism that Tucker Carlson has done by interviewing a person who apparently, allegedly, had sexual interactions with Obama. Clearly, that is the most important story, the most riveting journalism that Tucker has done. So apparently, that's the story for today. What has Britney Spears been up to? I have no idea. Honestly, like the fact that this is really what Tucker Carlson has to like drag out, because like first of all, we don't know the story. Like judging just by like the mere fact that you can almost guarantee that everything that Tucker has like reported on has always been twisted, misrepresented, or just flat out lied about. It wouldn't be exactly a bad assumption to say that this is probably like a bullshit story. But also, even if that was the case, who cares? Okay, who cares? Honestly, like if it came out that it's like indisputable that like Obama had relations with another man, and who cares? Okay, who cares? Obama. That's right. Like as if that's supposed to be like some shocking scandal. As if that's supposed to be like shocking news or a shocking report. Exclusive. No, man, who cares? Okay? Like who cares? If that ends up being like the case, two consenting adults doing like whatever it is that they want to do consensually, like is nobody's business but their own. And again, who cares? Monty Oblivion, how's it going? Tucker is trying to write the hardest hitting politically charged adult film ever. True. The thinking is that Obama runs the White House through Biden. True, I forgot about that. True. These are this is how it works, right? Obama is secretly in charge. Riveting stuff. But seriously, like don't you have like anything else to report on? Like literally anything else to report on? Tucker trying to stay on top. Yeah, I mean, like Tucker's literally trying to do anything, anything that will keep him, that will keep eyeballs on him. Essentially, after being kicked off of Fox News, anything to remain relevant. All right, folks, we definitely have a few things to go through. And limited time, yada yada yada. Hey, let's get to it. Some serious news. But for real, Hunter Biden is not in government, and Trump is not elected yet. Yeah, Hunter Biden apparently is about to get indicted for something. I forget. But these are Hunter Biden problems. Um, these are Hunter Biden problems, not necessarily Joe Biden problems. I think that there might be some kind of the gun charge. There might be some kind of gun charges there that the jury is that might indict him on, but like these are Hunter. Didn't he plead guilty to some shit? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. That's like a Hunter Biden problem. Alio with the 11 biddies. Thank you so much. No president has ever had problematic relations ever. Yeah, again, even if that was the case, like, okay, all right, cool, you got him. Like, I don't know if I mean, unless his wife was like okay with it, or his wife was like open, to the idea. I don't know. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, if it happened, it really doesn't matter. But if Hunter has funds to sell paintings, pay Hunter. What? I'm confused. Anyways. Alright, let's talk about some serious stories. Some actual, like, news.
We are going to be prepared day one, January 2025, to hit the ground running as conservatives to really help the next president. This task in 2024 is too big for any one think tank. This has to be a movement. And what we've done is use our convening power heritage to bring the entire movement together. But what we're doing is systematically preparing to march into office and bring a new army of aligned, trained, and essentially weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
Yeah, so like that should be deeply, deeply disturbing, because these people are 100% serious about doing that. And having, like, again, if we find ourselves in a situation where Donald Trump wins the presidency, these people are gonna get their way, because Donald Trump is gonna let it happen. Donald Trump is gonna appoint these people to the positions of power, or to the bureaucratic positions that they need to be to do what they need to do, and they're 100% serious. They're 100% serious about doing this. I mean, Chris Rufo, again, ooh, there's that little fly again. That little fly is going to be bothering us the whole stream. Chris Rufo said this last July or last June, last year sometime, where he basically said that if there was a Republican president, we need to move forward with making sure to eliminate any left-wing ideologies in the federal government, and that involves, taking over the bureaucracy. If he doesn't win, they'll revolt. Maybe. I hope Vivek wins. No. Vivek is a garbage human being. But also, not only is like Vivek like an actual garbage human being, but he's nowhere near, like anywhere near, any poll numbers that would indicate that he could even be remotely close to being to win. So Biden stomps him. They'll revolt, so Biden stomps him. Wait, are those two comments connected? MAGA must be reduced and take Matt Gaetz out of power. We can vote Republicans. I mean, ideally, yeah, all Republicans need to be voted out of office. Like, obviously, in an ideal scenario, all Republicans would get axed out. Would get axed out of office and be voted out. But I'll take what I can get. Oh, it's not connected? Then sorry, I guess I missed that one. yeah, the point being is these people are serious, and it's worth paying attention to, and it's really important to understand like what these people will do, and just how dangerous they are. That's the takeaway that I'm trying to put down here.
The Heritage Foundation and dozens of right-wing dark money organizations have come together to formulate Project 2025.
Hey, check it out! Look, he's wearing the Rational National shirt. Nice, cool.
Which is a set of personnel and policy recommendations intended to guide the next Republican administration through their first 180 days in office. And if they successfully pressure the president to adopt everything on their wish list, America would look like a completely different country. They would dismantle the administrative state, expand the power of the executive, enact nationwide internet censorship, ban porn, and politically imprison LGBTQ plus people potentially.
Yeah, 100%. All of this would be something that would be on the table, should these people get that kind of power, which is why it's so freaking important that Trump loses. Okay. That is why it's so freaking important that Trump loses. Not just that Trump loses, but that he loses undeniably. That he loses by a lot. Yeah, Vivek, one class clown, true. Oh, I see. Okay, now I understand. Okay, yeah, true. Vivek does end up somehow by some weird, miracle workings of Satan. If he manages to get the nomination, then yes, he would be stomped in a general election. Yes. Breaking news, Mexico has decriminalized abortion nationwide in a decision that shows that American countries that are expanding reproductive rights. Nice. It's more than what we can say. That's more than I can say for the United States. That's more than what I can say for the United States. Too many people are drowning in the fiction spun by right-wing propaganda machines, which is why it's so hard to affect change. True. No lies detected.
And should the next Republican president choose to pursue this unconstitutional agenda, he'd have the backing of the Supreme Court most likely. Now, all of this is moot if A, a Republican loses the 2024 election, or B, a Republican wins but chooses to ignore this agenda entirely. But if the Federalist Society has taught us anything, it's that Republicans always listen to well-funded right-wing think tanks because those are the organizations that their donors send money to, so why wouldn't they listen? And Ed Corrigan, who's one of the architects of Project...
Well, to be fair, maybe I'm wrong, but to be fair, the whole point of them trying to do it this way is because they would be using they would be using the legal system, right? So I don't know. I think this is a bit more insidious, and I don't know if it's necessarily unconstitutional, although maybe the results of their actions may be, but the way that they plan to put themselves in bureaucratic positions and cabinet positions, maybe that necessarily isn't constitutional, but maybe the effects of their policies and rules maybe, but I don't know.
2025 casually explained why they're very confident that this is not going to be ignored.
This has been really a team effort. You got 50 different conservative organizations have contributed to this. That's what makes this a strong product. No presidential campaign or president is going to be able to ignore it.
No presidential campaign or president is going to be able to ignore it. And he's right about that. He said it in a very nonchalant way, but it's still very ominous nonetheless. But let's break it down. What is Project 2025? Well, the first order of business would be for them to expand the power of the presidency in order to lay the groundwork for unconstitutional policies.
Like that, immediately, red flag. Immediately, that's a red flag.
that they really want to implement. As Bryn Tannehill of Dame Magazine explains, the mandate for leadership is a 920-page document that details how the next Republican administration will implement radical and sweeping changes to the entirety of government. This blueprint assumes that the next president will be able to rule by fiat under the unitary executive theory, which posits that the president has the power to control the entire federal executive branch. It is also based on the premise that the next president will implement Schedule F, which allows the president to fire any federal employee who has policy-making authority and replace them with the presidential appointee who is not voted on in the Senate. The president would directly manage and influence Department of Justice and FBI cases, which would allow him to pursue criminal cases against political enemies. Environmental law would be gutted, and states would be prevented from enforcing their own environmental laws. So there's a lot to this, and it's pretty complicated, so let me try to parse this out for you.
Oh, hey. I love my Rational National tee and my ADT hoodie. Hey! Thank you.
What this basically means is that federal agencies which currently operate independently would lose that independence. Many federal agencies that they don't like would just be abolished or weaponized to their own liking. For example, they plan on gutting the EPA, predictably, and shifting them away from their focus on climate change entirely, while directing other agencies to expand fossil fuel infrastructure, like the Department of Energy, for example. And you're probably thinking, well, couldn't the president already effectively do that by just appointing the stooge or industry plant? I mean, we've seen this again and again. So why not just make somebody who is a fossil fuel CEO, for example, the head of the EPA? Well, the president could do that, but this is different because it goes further than that. Because once they re-implement Schedule F via executive order, they also plan to clean house, which is very different than last time. Because as Salon explains, by replacing federal employees with like-minded officials, Trump-era conservatives are planning to remove federal employees whom they perceive as obstacles to the president's agenda early on. This would avoid the pitfalls of Trump's first years in office and eliminate the possibility of any resistance a Republican president wouldn't.
Yeah, so like another way of putting it, they don't want any type of like the problems that President Trump encountered within the bureaucracy and whatever semblance of safeguards and checks and balances that kind of end up playing out with these bureaucracies and the legislator and the executive branch and all this other stuff just kind of pushing and pulling. They want to, these foundations want to eliminate that. So should Trump win the presidency, they have a all clear field with little to no resistance. It's that's pretty bad. Again, Chris Rufo's talked about this. He's bragged about this on Twitter. Where he says that this is exactly how you do it, and this is freaking terrifying. This is really terrifying. Should they be able to actually get that done?
Counter, the AP reported, and what this would do is create a sort of organizational harmony. So you wouldn't see the pushback that we saw in Trump's first years in office, for example, because remember, he wanted to do a lot of really terrible things, but he couldn't. There are limits to the president's power, but this is kind of the answer to that. It's a way to address these obstacles that he had encountered and remove them. And think about it this way. So remember when Bill Barr was Attorney General and he contradicted Trump's lies about the election, and he said that he's not going to open up a probe into the FBI's investigation of Trump's 2016 campaign. Like, he openly defied Trump, essentially. Well, Barr was able to do that because as the Attorney General, as the head of the Department of Justice, you have independence, you have autonomy, right? Trump can't influence what you do. He could simply fire you and replace you with somebody else who's more loyal. But even that power is limited because Trump tried to do this. Remember when Justice Department officials threatened to resign en masse when Trump considered replacing Jeffrey Rosen with Jeffrey Clark when he was trying to steal the election? I mean, that was really important. That stopped Trump from proceeding forward with his attempt to steal the 2020 election.
Right, like these are very, very important guardrails that they're there for a reason. The fact that imagine a scenario where he would be able to do that. Think about it. If those bureaucrats didn't do the right thing, Trump would appoint the Jeffrey Clark guy, who, by the way, I believe he's one of the 19. He's one of the co-defendants, if I'm correct. Let me. Yeah, he's a co-defendant. Okay, so I remembered correctly. So he's a co-defendant in this case for the whole like Georgia election thing, I think. If Jeffrey Clark was put in the position that Trump wanted him in and got on TV and then put out there that there might be something wrong with the election, even if he doesn't have the power to do anything about it, the point, and Trump admitted this, and there's evidence to suggest that he knew, and well, the people around him knew what this would do. The point being is that a Department of Justice official got on TV and said that there's something wrong with the election, or that there may need to be some investigations or something like that. Anything to put a little cloud of doubt on the election is all they would need to kind of open up that idea that the election, well, was stolen and maybe something else might happen. But those bureaucrats that threatened to resign en masse stopped that from happening. If Trump is able to do that again without that barricade, things get a little more scarier, and not just with the election, but like anything that he wants to do, or anything that essentially these groups like the Heritage Foundation want to do. They will get their way. They will get their way, and that's pretty freaking scary. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
Election. But I mean, think about what would happen in that scenario if the president assumed direct control of the Department of Justice, and worse, replaced every legacy employee with Trump loyalists who would be less likely to defy him. I mean, you start to kind of see how this would become a threat to democracy directly, and why this would be much worse than last time. Because those existing checks that limit the president's power would simply not exist anymore under this philosophy, which they want to embrace. It would give him virtually unlimited power over the entire executive branch and every agency, and that is a problem. And Trump had authoritarian ambitions before, right? But the problem is that he didn't have the power or the know-how to actually pull off his dictatorial ambitions. But this time would be different, because many of the 300 plus conservatives involved in Project 2025 came from Trump's administration, and they would likely return for round two if he were reelected. And what's scary is that Trump has already embraced this vision for the executive. So if he's reelected, this will likely become a reality. So what they're doing is they're looking back at the obstacles that he faced the first time he was in the White House, and they're trying to eliminate all of those obstacles going forward, so that way he can do all of the terrible things that he wants to do. But once they consolidate presidential power, they then move on to the second order of business, the implementation of policy. And a lot of that includes deregulation, giveaways to their donors that fund, this network, the traditional conservative things that you would expect. But there's also a component regarding conservative social policy, and it's a sort of wish list that would basically transform the United States into a Christian theocracy. And they're pretty explicit about this. So Dame explains the social conservative.
Well, I mean, yeah, they've been pretty explicit about this for a while now. Like, what can we even do? Well, at that point, if we find ourselves in that scenario, at that point, there would be things that would require the violation of terms of service. Should we find ourselves in a scenario where we're basically it's checkmate, like, at that point, yeah, I don't know.
Wish list calls for ending abortion, diversity and inclusion efforts. protections for LGBTQ people, and most importantly, banning any and all LGBTQ content. In fact, the mandate for leadership makes eradicating LGBTQ people from public life its top priority. Its number one promise is to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. They are explicit in how they plan to do so. As you'll see in the paragraph below, they plan to proceed by declaring any and all LGBTQ content to be pornographic in nature. And this is a direct quote from Project 2025.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is some, like, this is some, like, 1920s Germany type shit. Like, anti-degeneracy laws. Like, this is basically what we're looking at. This is the exact same groundwork as fucking, like, Nazi Germany, policy-wise, how it started, right?
Document. Quote, pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up disparate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child welfare. It has no claim to First Amendment protections. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women.
Right. So, in other words, like, these are like anti-degeneracy laws. This is really, really terrifying. This is terrifying. Hey, Breed and Rap, how's it going? Yeah, it's incredibly worrying. It's very worrying. This is literally, like, indistinguishable. Like, if I told you that, like, if I just told you without putting any pictures or any context to this, like, that, by, like, if I just said that, hey guys, we're gonna read a paragraph from, like, Nazi Germany. We're going to read an excerpt from history of Nazi Germany and how some of their, like, anti-degeneracy laws started. I bet, like, you wouldn't be able to distinguish this, really. By the time people will realize it's a genocide on trans people, it would be too late, and it would already be going through its subsequent stages. Yeah. Like, yeah, 100%. And like I said, if I just, like, only showed you this text and said that this was, like, an excerpt from, like, Nazi Germany, like, honestly, it literally wouldn't be that indistinguishable. And that's freaking terrifying. That's freaking terrifying.
Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. That is absolutely chilling. But the question is, what would this look like in practice? And to be honest, nobody knows for sure, but at best, it looks like a nationwide implementation of Don't Say Gay in all schools and a likely ban on gender affirming care in all 50 states. But at worst, this also could look like the literal imprisonment of anyone who is openly LGBTQ. Dame speculates it's also arguable that LGBTQ parents would be subject to arrest, imprisonment, and being put on sex offender registries for exposing children to pornography simply by being LGBTQ and having children. It could be argued as well that people who are visibly trans in public are pornographic or obscene because they might be seen by a minor. This understanding of intent is in line with the call to eradicate transgenderism from public life. So this is genuinely terrifying because we are looking at a situation where every single queer person and arguably queer allies would no longer be safe in this country. They could all be subject to imprisonment or being on a sex offender list just because they're gay or trans. I mean, many people would be forced to leave, especially if they're in red states with governors not willing to protect them. This would create an LGBTQ refugee crisis of mass proportions. And that's what they want. But it gets worse because they want to crack down on the internet. Now, first, let's talk about the way that that would affect LGBTQ plus people and their allies. So with pornography being outlawed and all queer-related content being designated as porn, well, anyone who disseminates said pornographic material, like myself apparently, and the website that allows for said dissemination, like YouTube apparently, as well as the internet service provider that gives users access to this website that disseminates pornographic material, would all be subject to punishment or imprisonment at worst. In other words, if YouTube doesn't cleanse their website of pornographic LGBTQ plus content, then internet service providers would be forced to cut them off, which would effectively kill off all of these websites unless they comply. And LGBTQ content isn't the only thing that they would designate as porn. Let's be clear about that.
Right, like 100%. You think that these people are going to stop? No. Like, no, they're not going to stop. Don't learn from history equals bound to repeat it. Yeah, it's happening right in front of our eyes. And these people are not exactly shy about it. It's on video. They're not shy about it. They're literally telling you what their plan is. Should they find themselves in the position to implement this, this is what they're going to do. Okay? And they're telling you what they're going to do. Because, well, they feel like they can. They feel like there is no once they get into those positions, there's not going to be much to stop them in their head, in their minds, in these groups and networks' minds. They believe that once that is in place, there will be nothing to stop them. That's why they're being so open about it, in my opinion. Or maybe they just don't care. Maybe they think that there will be no repercussions. Maybe. I have no idea. Maybe it's just the sheer ego. The Democrats aren't pushing back. True, Democrats are nowhere to be found on this at all.
Think of all of the movies and video games that would be censored if this all came to fruition. I mean, we're looking at a censorship regime here that's far worse than China's and more similar to Saudi Arabia's and the Taliban's. That's where we're at. That's what they're openly saying that they want. But if they try to do this, there'd obviously be extreme pushback from blue states. But of course, they've thought about that too, and they have a plan. Dame continues, the organizations that drafted the mandate for leadership understand that blue states, which have sanctuary laws for transgender people, are unlikely to comply. To imagine California arresting and prosecuting teachers, librarians, doctors, therapists, bookstores, virtual or physical, LGBTQ parents, and especially LGBTQ people merely for existing in public. This is why they include the following paragraph, quote, where warranted and proper under federal law, initiate legal action against local officials, including district attorneys who deny American citizens the equal protection of the laws by refusing to prosecute criminal offenses in their jurisdictions. This holds true particularly for jurisdictions that refuse to enforce the law against criminals based on the left's favorite defining characteristics of the would-be offender, race, so-called gender identity, sexual orientation, etc., or other political considerations, e.g. immigration status. This is calling for the executive branch to use the Department of Justice to threaten prosecution of any local or state officials if they do not charge LGBTQ people and their allies with crimes under the pretense that they are breaking federal and state laws against exposing minors to pornography. If people at the Department of Justice refuse to go along with this, then they can simply be replaced under Schedule F. And we're really not even scratching the surface, because remember, this document is 900 plus pages long, and we're just looking at the LGBTQ policies. But think about the ways that they'd hamstring states' ability to provide women with abortions. Think about how this will impact people on welfare, people getting Social Security, Medicare, employment. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and every possibility ranges from a threat to democracy, from an outright violation of democracy. And the only check on the president in this scenario would be Congress and our far-right Supreme Court. Don't really like those odds, right? Even if Congress tried to rein in the president's power and pass some sort of a law to stop this from happening, well, the Supreme Court could go along with it. They could embrace unitary executive theory and strike down that law on grounds that it's unconstitutional. And the president could continue to do this. It's a literal nightmare scenario. Like, imagine, do you think that Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito would not?
Well, to be fair, the Supreme Court has given us some surprise rulings, but I'm also not comfortable with leaving these type of questions to the Supreme Court You know, the same Supreme Court who has been repeatedly been found receiving like gifts from like these big GOP mega donors. You know, we had the whole Clarence Thomas scandal. I mean, it doesn't exactly give me a lot of confidence, although the Supreme Court has made some surprise rulings. I think conservatives visit porn sites, though. They're the only flaw in this sinister plan. Yeah, I mean, but just like in Nazi Germany, like it doesn't. It's all incoherent. It's all contradictory. Like all these like anti-degeneracy laws, all completely contradictory. More often than not, these people participate and or are part of the very same groups. Ted Cruz, 9/11, never forget.
Not go along with this? Of course they would. But having said that, though, before we get a little bit too down, this is only a wish list. Odds are they're not going to get 100% of the things that they ask for. But what if they get 50% or 25%? I mean, certainly if they tried.
That was when he retweeted porn. That's right. That's right. So he should be registered as a sex offender, based on this thought process. More likely a staffer did on his account. Well, we can't really assume, or maybe they did. I don't know. But yeah, looks like Ted Cruz under these anti-degeneracy laws probably should be looking at some time, right?
This, there would be a massive legal battle with, judges striking it down initially and it making its way to the Supreme Court. So there would be time for us to prepare how we're going to respond to this. But regardless, even if they got 10% of it and Trump just did what he says he's going to do, which is expand the power of the executive, that is still very troubling. Consolidating executive power is not a new phenomenon because each president has continued to expand power. Everyone, Democrats and Republicans alike, Obama, Bush, Trump. But we're talking about a massive expansion.
Yeah, like it's not just the expansion of the executive, which is already enough. Like that's already concerning as it is. But it's also in the manner of how it's going to be done, or at least the attempt is, or how is it going to be done? If they're able to do it, that's what's troubling, because like basically in their heads what they want is a checkmate scenario where they get to call the shots regardless. And I guess the idea would be to not just have the people to push the right levers to call the shots, not just for the administration, but not just for one administration, but in perpetuity. These people aren't going to go away should that scenario manifest itself.
Of presidential power that gives the president virtually unlimited authority over the entire executive. But even if, in the best case scenario, they get nothing, none of this comes to fruition, and Trump doesn't even do what they say he should do with regard to taking control of the executive. Well, I still think this is worth our attention because this is the vision of 50 right-wing think tanks that have a lot of sway over Republican politicians. That's huge. They are telling us.
Yeah, this is a massive network, by the way. This isn't like a small, like fringe contingent of like the conservative apparatus. This is the massive conservative apparatus, all in unison, saying what they're going to do should they have the opportunity. Whether or not it manifests itself, I don't know. I don't know. And it's probably, or rather I should say the best course of action would probably be to make sure that there is no Republican president to begin with. so that we don't have to ask these questions. But that's just my 2 cents. They can't really do this if a Republican doesn't win. Right, they can't claim it's a fringe group anymore. Exactly.
That this is what they want for our country, an end to U.S. democracy, a dictatorship with a Republican on top. And I think that they wrote Project 2025 with Trump in mind, but they'll take anyone. They'll take DeSantis, they'll take Nikki Haley, they will take anyone who is willing to do what they want to do. And if maybe they say we're going to endorse a candidate, give them lots of donations if they pledge to support Project 2025 in their first 180 days in office, well then this could give a little bit more teeth to this authoritarian manifesto, right?
Right, and like you think that Trump currently wouldn't take that donation? Of course he would.
But the fact that this is what they want as soon as a Republican comes back into the White House means that we have to fight that much harder to keep a Republican out of the White House for as long as we can, to at least buy us some time, right? So, you know a little bit about Project 2025. Do with this information what you will.
Yeah, I mean, like the only play here is to the only like logical play here is to make sure Republicans don't win power. Period. Full stop. Because they're not going to stop, even if they lose this election, they're not going to stop. It's clear. They're not going to stop. They have the infrastructure, they have the network, they have the funding. This isn't going away. That's for sure. This isn't going away. So kind of, sort of, piggybacking over all of this, we'll just kind of shift into this clip here.
Do you know how political opponents to those in power are dealt with in third world dictatorships, banana republics, and communist regimes? Well, it's simple. The people in power use their police agencies to arrest their opponents for made-up crimes in an attempt to discredit them, bankrupt them, imprison them, exile them, or all of the above. And if you're not paying attention, you may not realize that Joe Biden is using exactly those tactics to make sure that Donald Trump is not his opponent in 2024. Here's the problem.
That's not what's happening. Joe Biden has no connection to this at all. Joe Biden isn't the one directing the Joe Biden wasn't the one that is like directing this investigation. So this has nothing to do with any of that. Maybe I shall have to go away. I mean, well, if the proverbial shit hits the fan, yeah, I guess so. Banana Republic are what we set up when we overthrow democratic governments for cheaper resources. True, actually, yeah.
If these tactics end up working to keep Trump from winning or even running in 2024, it is going to be the last American election that will be decided by ballots rather than bullets.
Yeah, so basically, like Mike Huckabee is basically threatening that the response to this should be violence, and more, I am convinced that these people would be more willing than last time. I think that these people would be more than willing. If Trump loses again, and he loses by a very thin margin, a very slim margin, I think that they would be more willing to go that route. Banana Republic have the best khakis. So just an insight as to how all of this is kind of coming to a head. When the election, if Trump loses the election by a small margin, I believe that these people will be more willing, that these people would be more willing to do something violent. And I'm not talking about like January 6th. I'm talking about like worse. Like these people won't just storm the Capitol and they won't just leave their weapons cache in a different state. I think that they'll I think that they'll use them. Trump's comment risks tainting jury pool in federal election subversion case. The Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith warned on yesterday, that former President Trump's daily statements threatened to taint a jury pool in Washington in a criminal case charging him with a scheme to overturn the 2020 election. Trump's provocative comments about Smith and Smith's team and U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is presiding over the case, have been a central issue since the indictment was filed last month. Prosecutors have repeatedly signaled their concerns about the impact of Trump's social media posts, and Chutkan explicitly cautioned against inflammatory remarks from Trump that would intimidate witnesses or contaminate potential jurors. But he keeps doing it. But he keeps doing it. I mean, like, if these people are serious, I would say that he's violated this so many times. He's violated this so many times that, like, at this point, he should be in jail. He should be in jail, or not permitted to use social media in any way, shape, or form, or jail. I mean, that's literally it. After, I mean, I pulled this up here just literally a couple of hours ago. Right now, Republicans in Congress have to get tough and put everything together in one neat package because I will be president in 1.5 years. What? Okay, we will pick the strongest, toughest, and most respected attorney general. If guilty, we put them all in jail where they belong, just as they tried to do to me based on nothing. So basically, he's threatening to put his political opponents or perceived opponents in jail because they did an investigation based on evidence of things that he allegedly is being accused of. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty freaking disturbing. I expect violence to be directed more locally at ballot counting locations or the like. That may be the case. That's absolutely a possibility. Which is pretty freaking disturbing. We already saw, like, in the last election, we had stories. We went over a couple of stories about people armed next to or near ballot harvesting, or not ballot harvesting, like the ballot drop-off boxes. There was, like, armed, like, militia people nearby. I mean, it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility. You're right, this time, Halaka. They're chicken shits, aren't they? Cowards, all of them, but very dangerous nonetheless. Good thing I vote by mail. That's a good point. I should consider that. I voted by mail during the last. No, wait. Was it the previous election? I don't remember. The post continued Tuesday, both before and after the latest concern flare with Trump earlier in the day, circulating a New York Post story about Chutkan on his True Social platform and openly mocking the idea that she could be fair in the case. Later in the evening, he issued another post which he attacked Smith as a deranged prosecutor with unchecked insane aggression, which I don't know what that means, ? Tuesday complaints from the Justice Department underscore the extent to which Trump's social media attacks are testing the patience of prosecutors and risk exposing him to sanctions from the judge who last week set a trial date of March 4th in an effort to keep the case moving. Trump has faced admonitions in other cases too, with the condition of his release in a separate prosecution in Atlanta being that he refrained from intimidating co-defendants, witnesses, or victims in the case. The subject surfaced again in a dispute over a motion that the Justice Department said it wanted to file under seal with an accompanying redacted version to be filed on the public docket. Defense lawyers objected, countering that they were entitled time to review the Justice Department's filing and any proposed sealed exhibits before they could be docketed. I mean, just put him in jail. Honestly, like the fact that he keeps making statements like this, I mean, he's very clearly and openly violating all of these terms. Like he really does not care about whatever the judge's orders are. North Carolina just allowed those, quote, vote watchers for 2024. The militiamen. Yeah, maybe, yeah, that's pretty freaking scary, not gonna lie. That's pretty scary. The prosecutor said it would be untenable to take several weeks to decide whether every ordinary filing that refers to sensitive material may be docketed. Such a requirement would grind litigation in that case to a halt, which is particularly infeasible given the pressing matters before the court, including the defendant's daily extrajudicial statements that threaten to prejudice the jury pool in this case as described by the government's motion, Smith teams wrote. Chutkan set deadlines for next week for additional filings she said may be filed under seal. Trump faces 3 other prosecutions beside the federal election subversion case. He started with 18 people, yes, we know, and the classified documents and the falsifying of business records for those payments. We know. But it's Captain Obvious, but America does not vote in reality TV stars. Oh, but America do not vote in reality. Well, we did. we did. Unfortunately. So it can happen again. Obviously, but the judges are still terrified of the optics about any action taken that will be seen as partisan and political. Yeah, but honestly, like, the only thing, I mean, this is just my opinion, but it shouldn't matter. Okay? If the law truly applies equally to everybody, then, like, it shouldn't matter, because, like, you can't really claim that. You can't really claim that there's partisanship when, like, literally the same grand jury that is indicting, like, the people who are protesting Cop City under RICO charges is the same grand jury that indicted Trump, right? So, like, yeah, I don't know. If like, your argument, I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, if somebody's argument is that, oh, it will be seen as partisan, like, no, maybe just that, maybe it's just simply that the dude did the freaking crime. Let the freaking law and process apply to everyone equally. Except law doesn't apply equally to everybody, or we wouldn't be where we are. I mean, yeah, that's kind of a problem, right? But nonetheless, the point being is that if there is evidence that is sufficient for a grand jury to be convened, and then the grand jury vote on this evidence, and now we're going to trial, and all these things that are quite provable. I mean, these statements are online. They're not ambiguous. They're not a secret. They're not a secret. They're not ambiguous. They're not hidden. I don't see how you could possibly think that it could be partisan. And if you do, then you're just delusional, and we should just, like, not give a shit. It's that simple. I don't care. Is basically what I'm getting at. I don't care. If he's intimidating witnesses or, messing with the jury, in any way, shape, or form, it doesn't matter. Right? Don't care. Ooh, sorry. They'd stack the odds. Another issue is that the speed of the social media and public opinion drastically outpaces the speed of justice. Again, doesn't matter. Honestly, don't care. Like, you go at the pace of the trial, and if people want to take it some type of way, that's not the issue. The judge shouldn't be, in my opinion, the judge shouldn't be concerned with that, right? The judge should be concerned in doing the right thing. That's it. That's how theoretically it should go. The judge should consider just doing the right thing with the evidence provided, and with whatever powers that they have within their scope. That's it. Like, public opinion isn't deciding this trial, right? Public opinion isn't going to be the deciding factor here. Nor should it. Correct, but weak judges are concerned with it, especially the elected judges. Well, is she an elected judge? I don't know. Nor do I think that these judges are. I actually don't know.
Donald Trump is now.
Hey, whoa. Nor do I don't know if these judges are elected judges or not. Senator Mitch McConnell's rocketed by a terrible poll as it's revealed that majority of Americans think that his health and age are severely limited his ability. Yeah, I mean, I could have told you that one. But we'll see. The only question is he even gonna run again? Is he honestly even gonna run again? Can he run again? I don't know.
Donald Trump is now openly fantasizing about what he's going to do to those horrible Democrats if he makes it back to the White House. Recently, on Truth Social, Donald Trump...
By the way, if you're confused, I'm Conscious Canuck. Hey, I vaguely remember that you were a different username on YouTube. The only thing that I'm confused about is why it's not showing up on the Twitch chat, but it is showing up on this chat that has both. So, yeah.
Said this. The crooked Joe Biden campaign has thrown so many indictments and lawsuits against...
I did nothing wrong, and they indicted me. Well, I'm glad you're on YouTube. So you weren't talking to a voice in your head? No, I wasn't. I thought that all this was supposed to show up on the Twitch chat, because usually there's a bot that kind of not retweets. They forward essentially the message so that it shows up on Twitch chat, but I guess the robot's asleep. Yeah, relays chat. There you go. That's exactly what I'm looking for. There's a bot that relays the chat because it's all part of one ecosystem under Restream. So that bot is supposed to be doing that job. But unfortunately, it's taken the day off. I guess Restream is dead. Long live Restream is dead. Long live Restream. I also don't have my Amazon and Google accounts sharing with each other. RIP. Well, that's okay. At least you're here somewhere, and that's the point of YouTube. Okay, that's the point of YouTube. So if there is an issue, there's always a way. There's always a way to do the stream. Restream is on strike. Oh. Wait, the company? I'm lost. Or are you saying that the bot is on strike? Give it a pay bump at least? The pay the pay is that I use the bot, okay? Subscribe for more emotes, true. The bot wants better working conditions. All right, let me look at the live chat on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube, you can actually see both chats. On YouTube, you can actually see both chats. So Conscious Canuck can see all of your chats, but you guys can't see their chat, unfortunately. So no, the simulacra, I'm not talking to the voice in my head. Unless that voice is Conscious Canuck. Well, I'll just relay the messages then, verbally as I see them. Oh man. That's strange. Where's my Restream bot? Are you here? Oh, the bot isn't even in the chat room. Well, that's probably why. That's probably why. Let me open chat here. Users in chat. Yeah, Restream is not in the chat. So I guess I guess it's taken the day off. All right, fine. Fair enough. Anyways, the point being is that yes, the judge shouldn't care, and I actually don't know if whether or not the judge presiding over this is elected or not. But I don't think it should matter. I mean, again, these are just like ideal scenarios in a hypothetical ideal scenarios, although like they're human beings, so it is quite possible that they'll make decisions based on like public opinion, even though like the trial shouldn't be decided by. I don't know. It's just like it's really, I guess, hard to say. We'll find out more as the trial continues, I suppose, based on whatever the judge's comments are.
Against me that Republicans are already thinking about what we are going to do to Biden and the communists when it's our
True, communists. There it is, folks.
turn. They have started a whole new banana republic way of thinking about political campaigns, so cheap and dirty, but that's where America is right now. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's freaking threatening, dude. Like, that's enough right there. That's enough right there to be like, all right. That's it. Jail, right to jail. I'm out going to forage for food. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate that. Next, they're going to start chanting, lock him up at rallies. Thank you for making your presence known in one way or another, Conscious Canuck.
Now, this is the second time in as many weeks that Donald Trump has issued that ominous "be careful what you wish for." But what he's doing is trying to convince the public, obviously, that, hey, yeah, I'm under investigation. By the way, Biden directed all of it. Biden had nothing to do with any of it. I mean, as far as we know, Biden didn't even want to do it. That's how little we know about Biden's involvement, because it didn't exist. And he's also not out there campaigning on it, which, if he was the one who directed it, you would think he'd be using it as a campaign issue. He has avoided it, which is a very smart move. So,
yeah, like Biden's really not involved in this at all. Vitor, how's it going? Welcome.
There's that, but Trump's trying to paint the country as like, well, now we're a banana republic, right? Nothing matters. The Democrats are the ones who opened the floodgates, so we're just gonna do it because they did it, right? See how he's trying to normalize his horrific authoritarian behavior? Even though there is no truth to what he's saying about, well, the Democrats started it. Like, no, prosecutors started it because you were so flagrant.
Right, like, dude, anybody who's complaining like, oh, well, this is political and this is all one side. Well, my dude, my brother in Christ, one side seems to be committing the crimes enough to the point where they're being indicted. Okay? Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. The fact that there's like a lot of people complaining that like, oh, this is all political and whatever, like take 5 seconds to have like a little bit of introspection. Isn't it a little weird? If that's the case, then like, shouldn't the natural conclusion be like, huh, that's interesting. One side is getting all like, roped up because of like crimes. Oh, well, maybe they're the ones that are doing the crimes. That's why they're in the positions that they're in. Yeah. I don't know, man. It may just be that simple.
With your violations of the law, or alleged violations, I have to say. So they had no choice. Look, Alvin Bragg in New York clearly didn't want to be investigating you, but he faced such huge backlash after he dropped the investigation where they already had criminal charges written that he decided, okay, well, I guess I have to. Letitia James had been investigating you for years before she brought charges, and she didn't even decide to bring criminal charges. She's just trying to hold you accountable in civil court so the state gets their money back. She could have hit you with criminal charges, but chose not to. Jack Smith, Merrick Garland dragged his feet on appointing a special prosecutor forever because he clearly didn't want to do it. Fani Willis, no, she was pissed off. She had every right to be pissed off. She's made it clear that she was pissed off, and she did what needed to be done to protect the sanctity of the elections of her state.
Yeah, and not only that, like, if dude did the crime, like, if there's evidence, and, like, I mean, it is what it is. Yellow King with a tier 1 sub for 33 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
This is not a banana republic. It's actually the opposite of that, right? A banana republic would be where Donald Trump's allowed to do these things and never faces any kind of accountability at all. This is actually how things work, with a justice system that actually functions properly. And you have been given every single privilege imaginable so far. I mean, for some of the crimes you've been charged with, they typically do not allow people to be out on bail. I mean, the documents, the sharing of documents, which you've been accused of in the charges, when that happens, Those defendants do not get pretrial release. They sit in jail until their trial. That wasn't even an option for you. So you can whine and piss and moan about this being a banana republic all you want. We know that you're only saying that to offer a preemptive excuse for what you're fantasizing about doing to Democrats. Oh, we're going to get Biden and the communists. Whatever. Best of luck getting back into the White House, though, by the way. Because by the time people actually have to make their decision and go vote next year in November, you're likely going to be a convicted felon at that point. And I don't think that's going to win over any, not one single moderate or independent voter in this country. And without any of them, you stand no chance of winning that general election.
Man, I hope that just ends up being the case. I really hope it just ends up being the case and he gets like steamrolled. Honestly, that's the most ideal scenario. The most ideal scenario in the election is that Donald Trump gets steamrolled. That's it. That's probably like the best scenario. The most optimal scenario is that he just gets completely steamrolled and has nothing else to stand on. All right, folks. This happened yesterday. We kind of some of you mentioned it briefly. Impeach Hunter. It's going to be low turnout, possibly. That's a scary factor. Yeah, that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. A couple of you mentioned this briefly, but I guess we'll get into the actual article. Proud Boys leader and domestic terrorist Enrique Tarrio sentenced to 22 years for sedition, the longest of a January 6 defendant, now convicted, and now sentenced, I should say. Former Proud Boy chairman, domestic terrorist Enrique Tarrio was sentenced on Tuesday for seditious conspiracy after leading a failed plot to prevent the transfer of power from Trump to Biden. The sentence from District Judge Timothy Kelly is the longest given to anyone in relation to the January 6th Capitol attack. Tarrio, dressed in an orange jumpsuit and orange slip-on sneakers, leaned against the lectern at the front of the crowded courtroom and hung his head as the judge handed down the lengthy sentence. Should have been 33 years, but that's just me. The other domestic terrorists were also found guilty of sedition and sentenced last week. It's kind of hard to put into words how important the peaceful transfer of power is, said the judge. The country was founded as an experiment in self-government by the people, and it cannot long endure if the way we elect our leaders is threatened with force and violence. Mr. Tarrio was the ultimate leader and the ultimate person who organized and was motivated by revolutionary zeal, the judge said after the 3-hour hearing, and adding that he had shown no remorse. What happened that day did not honor the founders. It was the very kind of thing they wrote the Constitution to prevent. Best case, Bernie wins it all. I wish. Man, imagine the alternate timeline, huh? Tarrio's lawyer told reporters that they respectfully disagree with the judge's decision. It caught us off guard. That was an appellate that's what the appellate process is for. Tarrio's been arrested in Washington, D.C. before the riot for burning a D.C. church's BLM banner and bringing high-capacity rifle magazines into the district, and was ordered by a judge to leave the city. Kelly said that while Tarrio may not have been present at the Capitol during the insurrection, the domestic terrorists had an outsized impact on the events of the day. While the 22 sentence is the longest for any of the January 6 defendants, the Justice Department had sought 33 years, which honestly 33 years should have been maybe more, to be quite frank. This kind of behavior and these kind of domestic terrorist group should be immediately stamped out. Should be immediately stamped out. I mean, throughout years now at this point, it has been known that these far-right white supremacist groups present the most lethal and persistent threat when it comes to domestic terrorism. Okay? I mean, this isn't news. This isn't news. Or Katie Porter, Nina Turner. Yep. True. Kelly has consistently gone far below previous Justice Department sentencing requests for Proud Boys convicted in this case. Kelly sentenced the other domestic terrorists to 18 and 17 years, respectively. The other domestic terrorist was sentenced to 15 years. The other one for 10. Before he was sentenced, Tari apologized for the pain and suffering that law enforcement, legislators, and others suffered on January 6th and vowed to have nothing to do with politics, groups, activism, or rallies. Don't believe him. And quite frankly, don't care. Quote, I've always tried to hold myself to a higher standard and I failed. I held myself morally above others and this child has shown me how wrong I was. Bro, you weren't thinking that when you fucking did the shit that you did, okay? The only reason you even made those comments is because probably the lawyer told you to make them, or maybe both, but or you realized just how freaking serious this was, and now consequences are happening. So you know what? Don't care. Don't care, quite frankly. Don't care, and I don't believe him. Standing before the judge, this domestic terrorist said that he spent the last year and a half trying to figure out how I ended up at this podium. Because you decided to be a domestic terrorist. You joined a domestic terrorist group and you became their leader, and you did this intentionally. You did this intentionally. You did not have to do any of those things. This was all you, my friend. On November 30th, something that I never expected happened. My candidate lost. I feel like something was personally stolen from me. Every media channel I turned to told me that I was justified. No. What? The only reason you felt like something was stolen from you is because there was like a ton of priming that was done time and time again to keep suggesting that the election was going to be rigged, to continue to suggest that the only possible outcome was that Trump was going to win, and if Trump didn't win, that it was rigged and it would be stolen. I mean, like, this was done time and time again. It was on purpose. Donald Trump continued to perpetuate this. So that's why these people had this thought process. But Taria said he was against the violence that erupted at the Capitol, but you weren't, though. There was literally, in the same trial, there was a text, I believe, that said something to the effect that, you see that, we did that, the Proud Boys did that, or something to that effect. Something to the effect of, like, gloating over that, gloating over the insurrection. I mean, please, spare me. Quote, I'm not a political zealot. You are. You're literally were at the head of a far-right domestic terrorist group. Yeah. Inflicting harm or changing the outcome of the election was not my goal. I just don't believe you. Okay? Prosecutor slammed Taria, saying that Proud Boys leader had a toxic ability to control others, and he was the leader of the conspiracy that targeted the entire system of government. Morrow described Taria as someone with a toxic ability to control others, who increased his own fame and stature by fanning the flames of violence and political violence. True. Yeah, the tourist visit, right. These men who would never strap a bomb to their chest signed up for training camp, but they are thrilled by the notion of traveling from city to city and beating their adversaries senseless in a street fight. Something that the Proud Boys have been very, very, very vocal about, by the way. This is not like news. The Proud Boy organization, which is a domestic terrorist organization, were not just a drop by, were led by Tario, not just a drop on the bucket when it comes to violence. On January 6th, the group had an integral role in the first breach. The actions of that group were absolutely pivotal on January 6th and followed directly the plotting and planning of Enrique Tarrio, which again, literally in one of the evidence, whatever. One of the showing of evidence was that he literally was saying and gloating that the Proud Boys did this. Okay? So, whatever. CBS News says Trump would love to defend himself at trial. Oh, man. Yeah, that would be... Yeah, I mean, sure. Go for it. Go for it. Like, yeah, you know what? He should defend... You know what? He should defend himself in the trial. It'll go phenomenal. Tarrio's lawyer fiercely fought an additional terrorism sentencing penalty on Tuesday, saying it was not his intention to bring down the United States government or overthrow the U.S. government. Nah. My client is no terrorist. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's literally the definition of terrorism. The definition of terrorism is to use violence to intimidate for a political agenda. I mean, that's literally the definition of terrorist. I mean, like, it's literally the definition. Unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. I mean, literally, that's literally him. Okay, I don't use these words lightly. He should represent himself too. True. Yeah, he should represent himself. It's not like he's gonna pay the lawyers anyways, right? The lawyers honestly should just like skip out and cut their losses, because it's not like they're gonna get a payment from him anyways. Quote, my client is a misguided patriot. Ah, yeah, dude. True. That's what my client is. He's not some foreign national waging war against the U.S. He thought he was saving this country, saving this republic. No. You could be a domestic terrorist. I don't know what a foreign national has to do with anything. Like, Jesus Christ. Did they pick this up? Like, who is this guy? He's not some foreign national. How could he be a terrorist? He's not from from another country. Lawful use of violence are perfectly okay, like, the police. Yeah, I guess. No, a terrorist can be domestic. That's why we have the term domestic terrorist. Okay? Terrorism isn't like limited by you being a American citizen or not. Okay? It's just simply whether or not you use unlawful violence or intimidation for political aims, which he clearly did. So, I mean, you could twist yourself into pretzels all you want. You can perform Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to say that, like, you're just a misguided patriot. But, like, no. Okay? No. No, doesn't take away from what he did. Doesn't take away from who he is. And consequences. That's basically the TLDR here. During the months-long trial, prosecutors showed evidence that Tarrio helped to create the command structure within the Proud Boys in the lead-up of the January 6th insurrection that dictated how members of the organization would work when attending the high-profile rally. Though he was not in D.C. on January 6th, Tarrio expressed his support for the rioters online and was in touch with his co-defendants on the ground. The other domestic terrorists who assumed the leadership in his absence led the charge at the Capitol. The Proud Boys were at the front of the mob, breaking past barriers in the police line and smashing windows to let rioters in the historic building, in the first breach that eventually led to Congress evacuating and temporarily halting the certification of the results. So, yeah, I mean, whatever, dude. I do like some simple mental gymnastics. No, these are Olympic levels, okay, Zealduke? These are some Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to try to, like, paint this domestic terrorist as just a simply misguided patriot. Yeah, nah. Fuck off. Fuck off. This dude's not a patriot. This dude doesn't believe in this country or anything of that nature. He believes in nothing more than violence and terrorism to get his way. That's it. That's the only thing this dude knows. And is willing to has shown that he's very willing to do so, and use people to do so. So yeah, whatever. 22 years, too short. Too short a sentence. I thought Tarrio was a double agent. I mean, he was a informant for a while, but nothing to do with this case, as far as we know. Nothing to do with this case. Group sues to block Trump from 2024 ballot in Colorado signing the 14th Amendment, which, yeah. ADL happy early holiday? What? What does that mean? Relatively new Twitch account? The Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics, a Washington-based watchdog group, has filed a lawsuit on behalf of a handful of voters seeking to bar President Trump from the 2024 ballot in Colorado under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution based on his alleged involvement in the January 6th insurrection. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, this is fine. The suit, quickly dismissed by the Trump team, marks one of the first serious challenges to qualifications as a presidential candidate based on the 14th Amendment. Section 3 states that someone isn't eligible for office if they were previously in office and took an oath to support the Constitution but then engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or gave aid and comfort to the enemies thereof unless granted amnesty by 2/3 votes of Congress. So, yeah, I mean, I love you all. Were quotes that I remember. A difficult lion, a difficult legend, maybe. Supporters of this theory argued this applies to Trump because of his conduct after he lost the 2020 election, but sought to reverse the results, which he did. Previously, such efforts on the other Republicans have failed, but Crew last year successfully pushed to remove a county official in New Mexico who was convicted of trespassing in connection with the attack on the Capitol. Wednesday's suit against Trump was filed with Crew's attorney by 6 Republicans and unaffiliated Colorado voters, including former state and federal local officials. Yeah, I mean, like, this was even filed by 6 Republicans, too. The suit accuses Trump of inciting and aiding the mob that stormed the insurrectionists. He was previously impeached by the House for the same, but was acquitted by the Senate. And he has repeatedly maintained that he did not incite the rioters, which he did. There's tweets about this. Literally the infamous tweet the day before or whatever, whenever he tweeted that, one of the last tweets that he did. Crew President Noah Bookbinder said that the organization is bringing the lawsuit because it's necessary to defend our republic both today and in the future. Trump is not all wrong. No, okay, don't care. Yeah, so basically, they're trying to apply the Constitution as it should, and we'll see if anything comes of this, and we'll see if there's any other states that would follow suit if it ends up happening. Something to definitely keep an eye out. All right, folks. Republicans, last article of the day. Republicans tried to stop Biden's new, more affordable student loan repayment plan because, of course, like, man, these people just like really, 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 really hate Americans. They hate the working class. They hate young people, and they hate, by extension, the country's future. And they want to make sure that they're as screwed as possible, because, like, not only have they fought tooth and nail to stop Biden from doing the meager debt relief that he's attempted to do, but now they want to stop even Biden's attempt to do more affordable student loans. So now now they have backpedaled or retreated to, well, if you couldn't pay the loan, then you shouldn't have taken out, and to now say that, well, we shouldn't even make it affordable for you to repay that loan that we just complained about you not being able to repay. These people know no bounds. Seriously. Michigan is trying to do the same thing. The 14th Amendment, good. The GOP sadly hates that Biden beat King Trump. Not only that, they literally hate Americans. They hate the working class. They hate they just hate America in general. They hate everything that they hate all the people in America, basically. That's basically the conclusion that I've drawn. They don't give a crap. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy and John Thune and more than a dozen of GOP colleagues introduced a Congressional Review Act resolution to overturn Biden's administration's new and more affordable student loan repayment plan. Once again, Biden's newest student loan scheme only shifts the burden from those who chose to take out loans to those who decided not to go to college and paid their way or already responsibly paid off their loans. President Biden's plan, known as the Saving on Valuable Education or SAVE plan, is expected to dramatically shrink many borrowers' bills, some seeing their monthly obligation fall to $0. They really are trying hard to never ever get elected because they don't ultimately, the idea that they care about elections is like a facade, because they don't care about democracy. The Republican Party is fundamentally incompatible with democracy. They actually don't care. This is just even participating in elections is kind of like a formality for these people, because if it was up to them, there would be no such thing as elections. The U.S. Department of Education announced on Tuesday that more than 4 million people have already signed up for this program. Consumer advocates criticized Republican efforts to roll back the aid. We condemn this move to block a plan that will provide significant relief to low-income borrowers and communities of color, said Jalon Herbin, the Director of Federal Campaigns for the Center of Responsible Lending. The Education Department has warned that the COVID pandemic had left millions of borrowers financially worse off, and the Biden student loan forgiveness plan was necessary to avoid a historic rise in delinquencies and defaults. After the Supreme Court struck down the debt cancellation policy in June, Biden rolled out a number of other relief measures for borrowers, including the SAVE plan. The Congressional Review Act allows Congress to block new regulations with a joint resolution from the House and the Senate. However, the president can veto this resolution. As a result, this attempt to block the SAVE plan will not be successful. So we'll see. But the point being is that like these people, these fucking ghouls know no bounds and do not care about being hypocritical, and they will literally retreat and twist themselves into pretzels if it gives, the right feelies to the right people. Because like to say that like now you're complaining that the problem isn't debt relief, the problem is that there's going to be a more affordable way of paying back the loans that you're complaining about that aren't being paid. It's just astounding. Astounding. I just saw DeSantis out attacking Harris on TV. Attacking Harris? Wait, is he really trying to like? Since he knows that he can't win the nomination, is he trying to be like VP now? Like, is that the goal now? Is that the ultimate aim? Since he's not going to win the nomination, is he aiming for VP? Anyways, voting Republicans always ends up bad. Okay, that's the TLDR because of the border. If Dems were smart, they'd remind everyone that the GOP is stopping this. Well, never underestimate the Democratic Party's ability to literally fumble like a perfectly winnable opportunity. Okay, a perfectly winnable scenario. Never underestimate the Democratic Party's ability to completely fumble that. So it's to no surprise. Biden's not going to live out his second term. Natural causes, so Harris becoming president. I don't know about that. I mean, it's possible, but doubt it. If there was if there was a Biden victory, I don't know. I don't know. Biden's not going to either VP or he thinks Trump will be in prison soon. Maybe. That's what DeSantis is trying to leverage. Gotcha. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, true. I mean, the Democrats, like, I don't know if it's a game that they like play, and that, you know, like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. Who can come up with like the quickest way to like fall on our faces in a perfectly winnable scenario? Quick, somebody somebody give us the fastest way to fall on our faces, despite this very winnable scenario. I don't know. It's pretty frustrating. But yeah. All right, folks. Yeah, it's still better than Trump, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Like, if the best thing that you can pitch to voters is like, well, we're not like fascist, we're not like speed running like the fascist, like, we're not speed running the whole like fascism thing. Like, that's not good. Okay. Like, if the best like selling point that you have is like, well, you know, we're not going to do like the fascism thing. If that's the best selling point you have, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we need to work on that. I'm just saying. We don't want Vivek or Nikki Haley. Well, neither of them are getting anywhere near that nomination. DeSantis. DeSantis versus Trump. DeSantis is arguably scarier, in my opinion. 100%. 100%. DeSantis is scarier. But yeah, the point being is that, like, if the Democratic Party's selling point is like, well, we're not fascist. Okay, well, it's not great. We're gonna need a little bit more than that. We need a functional Republican Party. Nancy Pelosi. True. No, Nancy, we don't. We're looking at a functioning Republican Party. No, we do not. Like, it's ludicrous that the Democratic Party, the leader, well, at the time, the face and the leader of the Democratic Party, would make such a statement. Again, outvote the GOP constantly. I mean, that's always what you should do, given like the stakes. But like, damn, you know, like, damn, can we like get something done that actually is geared towards helping people in a serious manner, not just crumbs, but like actual robust policy, and be completely unapologetic about helping people, and about the actual things you stand for. But anyways, those are just my two thoughts, because yeah, not great, not good. Not good if you're being a strong Republican Party to make sure socialism doesn't become a viable choice. Yeah, I used to be one of the people that says one side is worse than the other, but literally every single person who's gotten that far up the ladder is corrupt. Well, I don't know what that means, but one side is clearly, it's not just about corruption, right? Like, it's not just about corruption, right? Can anyone convince the DNC to change? I don't know. They're gonna, if they continue down this path, it's not a very sustainable path. Nothing will fundamentally change Joe Biden. True. True. No, there's objectively and unambiguously one side that is worse, and objectively, like, if you want to talk about corruption, like, it's politics, but like, but one side is clearly incredibly dangerous and heading down a path that is not good. Yeah, fascism, trying to run the trying to do like speed running the whole fascism train, not good. And there's only one side doing it. So yeah, there's no real two sides to that. It's just not a thing. One side is a clear and dangerous side. And that's it. Like, there's literally, like, objectively, like, that's literally, we've gone over what they plan to do. We've gone over what they want to do. We've gone over what they have done. I mean, one side is currently on trial for trying to overturn the elections. Enough said. Enough said. Like that's pretty much it. There's only one party that there's only one party that has attempted to overturn the results of a legal election. So yeah, there's no two sides. That doesn't exist. You're delusional if you think that there are two sides to that story. What are your thoughts on age limits in Congress? I've been convinced that the problem isn't age limits, but maybe have some type of aptitude test, or some kind of way of measuring whether or not they can actually perform their job. Yeah, I think I'm not in favor of some type of age limit test. Basically, the metric would be whether or not they're able and capable of doing their job, right? A neuropsych test? I cheated on my neuropsych test. I don't even know how that would even go. The point being is just, if somebody is unable to perform their duties, then they shouldn't be there, right? Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein comes to mind. Term limits? I mean, I think it was the Simulacra who made a pretty convincing argument against made a pretty convincing argument against term limits. So I'm pretty much like, I don't think term limits is actually the root of the issue. To be fair, if you can't perform duties, you should try a laxative. If I had the drum cymbal, okay? Just pretend. Alright. Folks, it is past 7 o'clock and I have to eat dinner. So we're gonna mosey on out of here. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. If you want to help support the channel and cannot do so monetarily, you can go to the YouTube channel, as Michael Hasser just posted the link. You can go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. It really does help us out. And must you though? Yeah, I think so. I think so. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back tomorrow. If you guys want any updates or any news on the channel, always go to the Discord. Be sustained by the meaty news. Exactly. Go to the Discord. If I ever do need to make updates or I'm unable to stream, I always post any updates there. But yeah, if you and also it's just a easier place to get everything in one area. Okay, I also post all the articles. Normally, all the articles that I go through, normally they'll be posted there for easy access to everybody. Thank you, Heath. Thank you, Michael Hasser, for keeping the chat chill, folks. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Avion, I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya.
Shining
All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.